Okay, can you please tell us your name and age?
My name is Pauline Borton, and I'm 91 years old.
Okay. First question, Pauline. Describe your life in State Center. How long have you lived here? Did you grow up in town or in the country? And how long has your family been in the area?
Well, when I was tell you about how I got here. My dad's name was William Schultz, and he's born in Great Bend, Kansas area, where his German ancestors came to live during the early 1800s. They were from Eastern Germany and the Berlin area. One was a bricklayer and went to business college, and the other one went to business college in St. Louis. They both fought in the Civil War, and later one homesteaded in Kansas. The other immigrant came from through Galveston, Texas, was a bricklayer in Missouri, and then migrated to Kansas. And he was in the home militia during the Civil War. So then it comes to my dad was in World War I, and he went to the Joplin, Missouri area to work in the lead and zinc mines with his brother-in-law in northeastern corner of Oklahoma. They became afraid of the mines, and so they came to Iowa to work on the farm. My dad, we settled in eastern Story County. My mom was born in Oklahoma, and her ancestors came from England and France as early as 1636. I was born in this little town in northeastern corner of Oklahoma, and they became afraid of the mines. And did I already say that?
You did. That's fine. Keep going.
Okay. So when I was 3 months old, we moved to eastern Story County. Dad had a job on the farm. And then later in 1930, we moved to Marshall County when I was 3 months old, and I found us listed in the 1930 census. Dad worked on 2 different farms. One of the farmers was Ed and Susie Smith, and Dad started farming south of the old Henry and Minnie Gertie farm, on a farm owned by Henry By, who lived in Salem Springs, Arkansas. Albert By managed the business. The road is now called Eastman Annex, and the house is still there. And we lived there for 6 years. And then we moved the next mile east, I think it's Fairman Avenue, to a farm north of the By Cemetery. It was the last place in the State Center School District at that one time. And then my family my folks moved to the Henry Walters farm, west of and north of Rhodes. And I've lived in this area ever since I was 3 months old.
Very good. Very good. Next question. What is your earliest memory of your life in State Center?
My earliest memories were when I started school. I was...
And how old would you have been when you started school?
I was still 5 when I started school.
Okay.
And I remember that first day of school, Mom took me to school. But the only thing I remember about it is seemed like I just knew everybody. It was great, the most wonderful thing in my life to get to go to school. And let's see. Oh, the first year I went to school, Harold Gerke, the son of Henry and Minnie Gerke, he was a senior in school, and I don't remember much of anything about riding to school with him. But I do remember when Mr. and Mrs. Gerke he was a senior, and so when they came to town, he was doing something else, probably at school. We came to school in their sleigh, horse and sleigh. And
Oh, yeah.
or else they were in the buggy. And I remember they would park in front of Liston's store, and there was a hitching post in front of there, and the horses were tied up in front of the store. But then you came to the corner on this northwest corner of the block, right in front of where the store used to be. There was a step up, but nobody else can remember that. But it was kind of like a wide boardwalk there in front of the horses, and once in a while I go in the store with Mr. and Mrs. Gerke, and sometimes she'd buy me something. One time I asked her, but it was before Christmas. I can remember that, of course, just as well. All these little Santa Clauses in a row, and I didn't have any money in my pocket. Didn't have any money, and I asked her for a nickel, and I bought those Santa Clauses, and I took them home. And what did my dad say? Where did you get the money? Well, I asked Mrs. Gerke, and did I ever get it? But I didn't get a whipping. I just felt so guilty. I laid on the floor behind the old heating stove the rest of the evening.
Oh.
But they were lovely neighbors. And
it sounds like it.
Yes. Then the next year I went to school. Dad hauled me to school because we lived on that road was a mud road. And when the mud got deep, it was deep. The school bus didn't go down. The school buses didn't go down mud roads. But then, Dad, we shopped at Conley's grocery store right here on the corner. So, Dad used to make grow potatoes and now I can't think.
That's okay.
Grow potatoes and we took eggs in, potatoes, and maybe
That's
the
okay.
third item. And he traded at Chambliss egg place right next door. It was I don't know how Dad got acquainted there, but maybe it was through the buys, because the farm we lived on belonged to Henry By, who lived in Silent Springs, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad never met him. They did the business by mail, and Albert By would walk out and see about things.
Okay.
And what else? What did I start telling about?
Do you want to move on to the next question?
Yeah, just a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I told that in later years, 6 years later, we moved over to the next farm east.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
All right. That's enough.
Okay. What is your favorite memory of growing up in State Center?
Going to school.
Going to school.
Going to school. Oh, this continues on about what I was talking about, Dad bringing me to school. And sometimes in the wintertime, the road was too bad. He'd bring me in the wagon, the grain wagon, and put some straw down in the front. When it was real cold, I'd sit down in the inside. And otherwise, he'd bring the car, bring me in. And I started school in the morning. He brought me in the morning after he got these chores, milking part done, and then he'd take me to school. And when in the evening, I came over to the Conley store, and waited for him to come pick me up. Because sometimes it was earlier and sometimes it was later. And sitting in that store, I watched the world go by. Would you like to hear about the world go by? Or just go ahead and talk?
Well, we can move on, or you can share, whichever you prefer.
Well, maybe you don't even want to, but you can erase this out if you don't want it. Watching the world go by. When I was in the second grade, I began a new routine. Each afternoon after school, I went to Communist grocery store across the street from the schoolhouse to wait for my dad to come in from the farm to take me home. We lived on a farm less than a mile from the edge of town on a mud road. The school did not have bus route on the mud roads, so my dad took me to school. In the morning, my commute, well, I already told you this, about sitting between his milking cows and the rest of the chores. But the evening trip depended on when he had time from his usual farming routine. Sometimes when the road was muddy and the snow was too deep for the car, we rode in the wooden grain box pulled by 2 horses. If I were really cold, I'd sit down and ride in the front of the wagon box on a pile of straw protected from the elements. Otherwise, I stood by my dad as he drove the team. Most of the time, we made the trip in his pea green 28 Chevy. So I settled in this routine. I was sitting on a bench that sat on the left side of the storefront door by the east window. Usually I had my dinner pail and books plus a coat and the boots. As I was here, I learned to have patience and sit quietly. I didn't mind sitting there. Every day was a different grocery item. Grocery customers came and went. On a certain day, a local farmer and his wife, accompanied by their grown daughter and son. I wondered why in the world these grown-up children still came to town with their parents, why they didn't live on their own. Well, one moved to town in later years, and the son and his family lived in my neighborhood on the farm, yet when my husband and I started farming. One boy in high school came in the front of the store, waited around until the groceries were busy, then sneaked in the inside corner of the candy case and helped himself. I often wondered if he thought what I did didn't count. What I did didn't count. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it didn't. Never. I got mixed up. Wondered if he thought what I did see didn't count, and maybe it didn't. I never did tell anyone. He later became a prominent, respectable businessman on Main Street.
Thank you for sharing. What were your favorite places to visit in town?
During the noon hour, some of us girls would go, if anyone had a penny or a nickel, we'd go uptown and there was about 6 of us, during the noon hour, and go buy a stick of bubble gum and divided it all us girls. And we visited in different stores uptown, and I really didn't have any favorite places in this town.
Okay.
While I was sitting in the storefront, I watched Brimhall's daughter when she married Cliff West. She would come uptown in the evening to the store, and then later on, she'd come and while I was sitting there with one little boy, one little kid, she'd come with the next little kid, and I think eventually they had 4 children. But I quit sitting in the window when we moved over to the other mile east, and lived in the school bus.
Okay. What has changed the most during your time here in town?
Well, they've redone all these old buildings that were just falling apart. And schoolhouse, the old schoolhouse, the school is completely different than it used to be. We went to school in the old red brick schoolhouse until we got into junior high. And we thought we were so great when we went to junior high. So I tell my granddaughters, that great-granddaughter that was in junior high, how great it was to go into the junior high building. And then when we were in grade school, we took our lunch and walked over to the what was high school lunchroom, and we ate dinner. We walked over there almost every day to eat dinner in this lunchroom, right inside the door on the east side. And we sat by the high school girls, and they would visit with us and ask us questions and think it was silly. But anyway, I knew a lot of people by just being quiet. My dad always said, be quiet, keep your mouth shut, don't tell everything you know. You'll know what you know, and you'll know what they know. So it's a good policy.
That is good advice. That is good advice. What advice would you give to current and future generations of families in State Center?
Care about everybody. Care about the people you meet. Don't think you're, just because you're one race or belong to one family, that you're any better than the rest of us.
That is good advice.
And that is what I think. I had a lot of, I never was made fun of when I was in school, but a lot of the kids that came in the spring, in the spring of the year, farmers moved. Someone you paid cash rent, and someone would offer the landlord maybe 50 cents an acre more money, and so they rented the farm to them. So the one that lived there, if he wouldn't pay that much more, he was gone. He had to move. So in the spring of the year, we had a lot of new people in our class. I don't know if that answers that question, but
No, you did. You did. Who were your best friends?
Well, those girls I wrote about in that, well, I was kind of friends to everybody. I didn't have, nobody made fun of me. I don't know why.
That's a good thing.
Yes, it was good. And there was Eloise Clemmy and Catherine Wilkening and Verna, used to be Idler, Shaver, Betty Mulcahy, and Evelyn Bernard. Her name is Genesis now. She's still living. And almost every teacher was my favorite teacher.
All right.
When we were in the second grade, I'll just tell you this, and you can use what you want.
Okay.
We were in the first grade. There were so many. We were the biggest class that ever started school and graduated in the old State Center School. And in the first grade, we had Miss Lisher, and sometimes she would have high school girls come in and help in the afternoon. That was a lot of ornery little kids to have in one room at that time, 50 of us. And then we had an assistant teacher. Her name was Miss Pettis. She came part of the time. Then when we got to the second grade, we learned to read and write in the first grade. The second grade, we learned to do good writing. We had penmanship, and you sat there and you did your letters and everything with ink and a straight pen. And if you made a mistake, you just made a mistake. And if you didn't write right, you got a whack on the hand with the ruler. So we didn't think too much of that.
I imagine so.
But we had a lovely music teacher. She was a little lady, and she kind of crippled, walked with a limp. And about once every so often, we learned music. Everybody learned music. Learned how to write music. Knew what all the signs were. And we had tests. And everybody, it wasn't just a few that the music teacher picked out because she was a good singer. It was everybody learned this. We all had to take this. Yes. And she came once every so often with a Victrola.
Mm-hmm.
And played the old classics. And then we'd have to write a story about what we heard in that music. And then in the third grade, there was Miss Kepke. And she was the sweetest, prettiest woman I thought I ever knew. Her hair was, she had this Marcel, I believe it's called, hairstyle. When in the early 30s, they wore their hair in waves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she never scolded anybody. No, never remembered that anyone ever got a whack with a ruler. And when we were all through with our school, with our classes, we could go to the back of the room and pick up a National Geographic magazine and look at the pictures. First time I ever saw a picture of a black person.
Wow. Wow. It's interesting to think about.
In the fourth grade, we went upstairs, and we had one boy that was always ornery, and he sat in the dunce chair. I've talked to other people, and they don't remember anything about the dunce chair, but I remember this boy was in trouble all the time. He'd sit on the dunce chair, and they had a pointed cap put on his head. Mm. The true dunce.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Oh, I could talk all day about going to school.
Well, you kind of just answered the next question about memories of school. So the final question, Pauline, what businesses do you remember when you were growing up?
Well, I remember Forest By had built that new building across from where the school is now. And I don't know what kind of business he was in. He was Albert Bye's son. And then next door was a Chambliss poultry place. He bought and sold eggs, cold chickens, and all that kind of stuff. And I remember him quite well because it was my job to pack the eggs in an egg case to come to town. And one time my doll was in the egg case and I was so embarrassed.
Oh.
Then the Conley store here on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very nice to me. And then the next place was a variety store. And us girls used to go downtown. We'd always stop and then talk to the lady that worked in there. And then there was a meat market and Foot's grocery store. And the telephone office. Drugstore was run when we bought our books. We had to buy our books when we went to school, and we'd go down to the drugstore. It was run by the Brimhalls and Van Pelt. And then there was Dr. Woods' office. He was there a long time. I don't know if you know you wouldn't have been around when Dr. Woods was doctor. Then there's Benson's store. There was another store. Used to be a Minnie Merrill's hat shop. We'd go in there and try on hats.
Oh.
And then some other stores down there was Benson's. Did I say Benson's? Elmer Benson's store. It had been there for years and years. Dr. Sokol's office was kind of next. And then there was a bank on the end of that block. One was sort of a Republican bank, and the other was sort of a Democrat bank.
Oh.
And Mr. Dobbin, there was a Mr. Dobbin that was in one of the banks, had one of the banks. I can't think right now. There was a Pittman that worked in the other bank too. Then on across the corner was Liston's store, grocery store, and next door to them, I don't know if that was a farm machinery store then or not.
Okay.
Then there was a barbershop, and I don't know if there was a pool hall there then or not. And then there was a post office on that side. On the other side, across the street, there was a man by the name of Anderson that he sold coal, and I don't know what else he sold. But on stormy days, when we'd had storms around and it rained a lot, Dad might take his kids into town, and he'd buy hand-packed ice cream, just enough for each one of us to have a little serving when he brought it home. And this Anderson had an ice cream place right inside the door. So then there was across the street from Conley's store, there was a Brimhall West furniture store and undertaker parlor. And at one time there was a little bakery in there. Between that was a shoe store and Mr. German's harness shop. And then there was a Malloy Cafe. And there was a barber shop. I kind of think there was a barber shop there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the old bank, that building is there on this side of the bank, on the north side now. And I don't remember.
That's okay.
There was a restaurant on the corner where Sissy's is now. And then across the street from there was Bachman's Hardware. And there's where we went and we'd pool our money and bought a little chain that we could use playing hopscotch. Because we played a lot of hopscotch and a lot of jump the rope.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, we had the noon hour together, and so I knew all those kids.
Mm-hmm.
I was friends with all those kids. And then on this side, across from the school, when we were in high school, was Gross's ice cream place. I believe it was Gross's. It was Myrna. Oh, I can't think of names. Schaffer's parents owned that at one time. It was called Eubanks Dairy. And so lots of times we could slip over there and get something, a little snack or something. But you didn't do that very much because there wasn't any money.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't any money.
Okay.
That's list some of them.
That was very good. Well, that was my last question. So thank you, Pauline.
Well,